best way to experience Australia's coastline is by boat, but a great day out on the water can soon turn bad as the storm clouds roll in. As a boatie, it is critical to understand the effects of extreme weather. I'm Charlie Baker, and in this Club Marine TV video, we're going to have a look at severe weather events and how to prepare for them. When it comes to wind strength, it's critical to know the seaworthiness limits of your vessel and the abilities of yourself. As a general rule, in waterways that are prone to swell or chop, small vessels should avoid going out in winds exceeding 15 knots. Wind warnings are issued for local and coastal waters when the wind exceeds 26 knots. That is a strong wind warning. After that, we have a gale warning, storm warning, and then hurricane warning. Large powerboats and cruisers are not immune to the wind. They have a large windage area, so when we're trying to manoeuvre, it can increase our turning size quite a lot. We also have a lot of things on board like covers, cushions, upholstery, toys, towels, all those type of things that can get blown off the vessel, packing up the galley, things like stowing swim ladders, shutting cupboards and lashing down any loose gear. After we look at our forecast before we go out, all skippers should be observing the weather and take note when they think the wind effect will change. Conditions can develop quite rapidly. What we're looking for is observations around us, like on the water's surface or clouds. Also, we can look at real-time observations online. For example, I could look at the Wollongong forecast if I'm expecting a strong southerly in Sydney. Once it's hit Wollongong, I know that there's a certain time frame when it should reach Sydney. So that'll give me time to prepare my vessel for that event. Monitor the sky and your surroundings for any change in the weather. Look at patterns of birds, for example. They'll always move to a sheltered location. We can look at other boats as well. If someone else thinks that the weather may change, you might see the boats all moving to another location as well. A cold front is faster moving cold air that's approaching warmer air. Two just don't mix. The cold front will actually push under the warm air, forcing it upwards, which brings a dark wall of cloud with high white fluffier clouds above it called cumulus nimbus. If you see the cold front approaching, understand that we could have wind gusts for an hour or so up to 50 knots or more. If you're out on the water, make sure you have enough time to pack your vessel up and prepare to depart and get home in a good amount of time. If you do have to move location and you can't go back to where you'd started your journey from, then you might have to look at another anchorage. When selecting an anchorage, you're looking for good shelter throughout the weather event. So we're looking at the holding bottom of the seabed. Mud and sand is great. We're also looking at how much room there is. Is there enough swinging room for our vessel and our anchor chain from how much scope we put out? When on a large cruiser or any large vessel for that matter, a small anchorage will feel very tight and crowded very quickly. We have to consider how much chain we're letting out. That's our scope. So if it's 10 metres of water, we may be letting out 5 to 8 times that depth of chain. Then we've got our vessel size on top of that as well. So that's quite a lot of swinging room that we have to account for. Remember that wind speeds in forecasts and warnings are averages, and that they could be up to 40% stronger than forecast. A strong wind warning can be from 26 to 33 knots. A gale warning can be from 34 to 47 knots. Storm warning, that's from 48 to 63 knots, and a hurricane warning 64 and above. A knot is a nautical mile per hour, and if you're not the metric type, 1 nautical mile is 1.852 kilometres. If it was 20 knots of breeze, I'll estimate that at about 35 to 38 kilometres per hour. Large waves and swell are generated from low pressure systems far away. So it can be a nice sunny day where you are, but that means that you can be affected by waves building. Waves become steeper and higher the shallower the water gets. That's where we like to operate as boaties. In the event of large waves, swell or chop, the ability of a cruiser or powerboat to cover distances is greatly reduced. Fuel consumption may increase and times calculated to our destination may need to be recalculated. A new course may need to be considered. This also could change our fuel and time calculations. The boat may become less stable, so we'll have to secure hatches and any loose items. We might have to consider a plan B or a plan C if we can't reach the desired marina or destination. When running in large swells or wind chop, it's good to monitor your vessel and how it's performing. If you're going straight into the waves, it may begin slamming and shuddering throughout the vessel. If it's too much on the beam, that's the side, the vessel will roll quite violently. So what we need to do is find that happy medium, and what you need to do is really look and adjust the steering if you're running on autopilot and that's holding correctly, and just look at a different angle on the wave. If you go over a wave, you could fall back down onto the shoulder and soften the drop. Strong winds or large waves will make disembarking or embarking the vessel quite difficult. If we're using a tender, where are we going to have the tender? Is it going to be satisfactory on the swim platform, or should it be alongside? Wave Rider buoys are great. They provide real-time information, and that can be viewed on the Bureau of Meteorology website. That will tell you the current trends with the waves. Obviously, if you're in the situation you're in, you're not that happy with the waves and the trends going upwards, then it may be time to prepare and get out of there. Thunderstorms are accompanied by squalls, heavy rain, hail, and sometimes lightning. They also are associated with very high winds. East coast lows are severe weather events that happen off the east coast of Australia multiple times throughout the year. They generate intense waves, which can also generate a storm surge. They carry gale to storm force winds, and it all pushes onshore together. Tropical cyclones are a severe weather event to be well aware of. In the Northern Hemisphere, they're referred to as hurricanes. And as previously mentioned, hurricane force is 64 knots and above. Tropical cyclones, they come with intense winds, torrential rain, storm surge, and large waves. This can affect low-lying areas, even marinas and up rivers, and in small bays as well. Sea fog can last quite a long time. It's quite a problem for mariners as it reduces our visibility. Therefore, we're relying on things such as radars and GPS systems to know where we are and what vessels are around us. Tides not only affect the water level, but it also creates water flow, which we call current. When entering rivers or barways, we really need to be aware of this, especially outgoing currents, which are referred to as ebb tides. The best time to cross is on the high water slack. That means there's not much water movement. During the middle of the change, that's when we have the most movement. A low slack tide is also good as long as your boat has enough draft to get over the sand or the seabed that is at the barway. Dealing with currents in close quarter situations, i.e. anchorages or small bays or rivers, makes a large vessel very difficult to turn, any vessel for this matter. So always consider what the current's doing to your boat. One good idea to do, put it into neutral and see what is actually going to affect your vessel once you do try and slow down and do one of the manoeuvres you're thinking of. That could be anchoring or docking the vessel. In regards to water depth with changing tides, consider what the draft of your vessel is and if you have enough water to get to your destination. Also, when at anchor, are you anchored in enough water that any underwater obstructions aren't going to damage your vessel? In severe weather events, when we're dealing with a lot of rain, remember in rivers and creeks that we may be dealing, even in coastal bays, dealing with a lot of debris, logs, rubbish, and other things that will float down. I've been out in bad weather plenty of times with raincoats on, fixing lines and all these types of things. Over time, you do learn to get in early and do it properly. All your drains and hatch gutters might get clogged up on the boat. This just happens. So occasionally get the garden hose or the dock hose and push the water back out the other way, or just flow it through the correct way and make sure you can see it draining over the side of the vessel and into the sea. If we have internal flooding on our boat, we need to make sure we've got the battery power our bilge pumps. We need to make sure our bilge pumps are switched to the correct setting. They can either be off, manual or auto. Most people like to leave their boat with nice clean bilges and the bilge pump on auto. In the event of severe weather, fenders are your friend. They're not going to help you while they're in the locker, so it's a good idea to get them out early and get them positioned. This is a floating dock, so nice and close to the waterline is going to be great for this one. Moving along, here we've got chafe guard, not just chafing against the boat, but we don't want our mooring lines to chafe either, as we're relying on those to keep the boat in position. Whenever using ropes, always check that they're quality, that they haven't got any cuts or abrasions in them, that they're in good order. Check the dock cleats that you're using. Make sure that they're structurally sound and in good order. Okay, here we have a good example of a boat with lots of nice covers on. We're protecting our windows, our varnish, all sorts of things there, and cushion covers. But if we've got hurricane winds expected, that's 64 knots and above, they could work against you. That may be the time that we take them off with those metal clips. Could you imagine that flapping around in the wind? It's going to cause a lot of damage. With dinghies and tenders, make sure they're lashed down well. If the vessel's in the marina, you could always put the dinghy back in the water and take it home and put it in the shed. If there's room on the vessel, you could deflate a rigid inflatable boat and store the whole thing inside a hatch. Within regards to shore power and severe weather events, there are different things that you need to consider. Sometimes if the boat's not going to move too much, it's fine to leave it plugged into the shore power. But if you think that there might be a case where the surge is too great and the power might be ripped out of either the vessel or the shore plug, then you may need to remove that. In that case, we want our batteries full before we remove it, and we also want to make sure we're going to have enough power throughout the severe weather event to power our bilge pumps. If this is the case, you'd want to remove any food items that may perish in your fridge or freezer, especially bait. If there is a storm surge predicted, quite often a whole marina will lose its power, so also be prepared for this as well. Okay, when preparing your vessel, it's always good to have a look at your fuel system. Given that we may have to prepare for a severe weather event, we want to make sure we've got nice clean fuel we're going to get to our engines. So we're checking the sight glasses. These are the primary fuel filters for each main engine, and we also have a sight glass here for the generator. We don't want to lose that either. Can you move your vessel to a better marina or offer swing mooring to a marina? Are there other locations that are going to be safer throughout that severe weather event? In regards to trailer boats, is it parked under a tree or power lines? Is there somewhere else that you could take it to get through this time? After a severe weather event, you want to return to your boat and start having a good look over things. What I'd be looking at is I'd make sure the bilges are clean and empty still. If so, you might need to pump them out. Then I'd start looking at all my equipment before it's too late, because if it's wet inside a locker, it could go mouldy or get damaged. There's great sources of information you can look at before you head out to sea. Right now I'm having a look at the Bureau of Meteorology, checking the forecast for the local area. So that's the Coastal Waters forecast. All these apps and online information are great. You could use a laptop, you could look it up on your phone. If you're out of reception, you could call through on the radio. We can have a look at the Club Marine website for the boat preparation for severe weather. That has links to some good forecasting sites as well, and good checklists to work off. Any checklist is a good checklist because it stops you worrying about things that you may have missed.